world.
Hi there, I'm Steve LaChance with Integrity Mortgage. We're talking to you today from the Clear to Close LLC Portland, Maine studio. I'm here with Patrick Matheson from the Manchester team of Keller Williams Realty.
Hi.
And what are we talking about today?
We're talking about how right now is probably the best time to buy a home that we've seen in
All
years.
year long.
All year long, in years.
Well, actually, in the last several years, yeah. Yeah, and the part of what I talk about lately is we've been hearing a lot about how can it be a good time to buy when interest rates have gone up so much, and the Fed's last Wednesday increased rates 0.75 of a point. And what we all know from that is rates go up, right? Well, what a lot of people don't understand is when the Fed raises interest rates, particularly last week, my rates got better. Rates actually didn't get worse that day. They actually got better. And here's why that happens. The Fed is actually raising the federal funds rate. So when the Feds are raising rates, they're not raising mortgage rates, but they are essentially still have an effect. And that effect is from investors that buy mortgage-backed securities. They are listening very carefully to what the Feds say, even as we speak right now. And as the Feds announce future rate hikes, they get a little cautious on their purchases of those mortgage-backed securities. So banks and lenders raise their rates well in advance of when the Fed actually hikes up the rate. And Patrick's dozing off. But I can tell you, some of us find this boring, and even I do because I repeat this over and over again. But what's happening so often is borrowers are hearing and realtors are hearing, well, rates are up, so we're going to slow down on our search.
And I think Steve explains it to me better because I glaze over when his sentences are more than a few words long. But I think you explained it best to me that mortgage rates tend to be more emotionally driven. So when the Fed does what they say they're going to do, everyone's okay, and we actually see rates improve.
Exactly. Right? As long as they stay consistent on what they said they were going to do, interest rates don't actually rise, at least in the mortgage world.
So even if the Fed came out next week and lowered rates by a quarter or something like that, we might actually see mortgage rates go up because it's a surprise.
Correct.
Right?
That's it. You nailed it, because that's the key to it. It's really the highs and lows, or that volatility that scares investors away. That's what's going on with rates. So what do we think of it right now? Yeah, frankly, they got a little bit better than what they were doing.
So when was the last time rates were this high? And I know it's different for everyone's situation. Yeah. It's different for every property that you're looking at. But what?
Well, just prior to COVID, we were seeing interest rates actually get up into the higher fives, and I always joked the low, high to mid fives. It depended on the borrower situation. So rates were in that 5s and 6 level just before COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're getting back to more normal, whatever normal is.
Right. It's funny is, I always hear people talk about this normal market, and I've never seen it the whole time that I've been in business. So.
Well, I've seen some roller coasters, of course, and starting back in '96 when I first started doing it, rates were in the 13s. And we don't want to make this all about interest rates today, because this is still a terrific time to buy. Tell people why, though.
So the last year, especially the last year, but the last couple of years, we've moved to a position where sellers had so much control in a transaction. There wasn't enough inventory for all the buyers that were qualified and out there. So for every house that you had listed, there might be 25 buyers banging down the door, all fighting over it. So then you have people bidding higher, people removing contingencies, people borrowing cash from their parents so they can make the cash purchase and don't have to go through the financing part of it just to make the offer a little bit more attractive to sellers. And especially in the last year, last summer we had people going in without investigations. Even the spring we had that happening. So now all of a sudden we have a little bit of pressure off on the buyers. We're in a position where now buyers have more negotiation power. We're seeing buyers come in at sometimes even under asking price, which anyone who's tried to buy a house in the last couple of years knows that's crazy. It's crazy talk.
Yeah, even things like repairs that are needed for a home. In the past, we have not been able to get anyone to negotiate with the roof needs a repair. Well, take it or leave it, because that's how we're selling the house.
Yeah. And
it was difficult to get financing if a roof needs to be repaired. But if you have a seller that's willing to cooperate now where they weren't before, things get so much easier as a buyer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not even price. Sometimes it's not all price. Sometimes it's, I have X amount of dollars to work with, 3.5%, for example, for a down payment. where's the money coming from for closing costs? Can't roll those in. So typically, traditionally, we used to see seller concessions. The seller would pay for closing costs. That doesn't happen in the last few years, but that's happening now.
Yeah. In the last 2 months, I've been able to do something that I haven't been able to do all spring, which was negotiate for repairs on a property, get seller concessions back for my buyers, negotiate down the purchase price, and that was in one transaction, and this we were able to repeat it on another transaction. So this is it's something that we haven't seen in a few years. So if you're a buyer and you are qualified with Steve, then let's talk. Let's go get you a house. You've got more power now than you've had in a long time.
Definitely. And again, the key to it is making sure that you're getting yourself properly qualified ahead of time. I can't stress that enough. Some of the bigger problems that run into play is not having a loan pre-underwritten. What that means is don't just get a letter saying you're qualified. Actually talk to your lender. When we talk to somebody, we gather all their documentation and we run it through an underwriter right up the front. And that way we're not getting 3 weeks into something and finding out, oh, we didn't know this, or oh, surprise on one of the documents. So getting just pre-approved isn't quite enough. You want to have it pre-underwritten. Makes a huge difference in financing without a doubt.
So the best way to get in touch with Steve is how?
Well, a couple of different ways. Always through the Manchester team at Keller Williams Realty. That's my favorite way. Reach out to them. But my cell phone is 207-329-6510. Use my personal cell phone with any questions.
I realized just the other day that your cell phone is the only phone number that I actually have memorized because I type it out so often. It's the only phone number that I still have memorized besides my parents' house phone.
Well, I appreciate that. I just have to tell my phone, Patrick Matheson, please. So what number should folks call you out?
So you can reach us at the Manchester team. Ruth is going to have to flash me the phone number because that's not a phone number that I have memorized. You can reach me at 207-899-5691. And Ruth says 207-653-7653 for the Manchester team. We'll be glad to help you out.
653 sold, if I remember correctly.
That's right. 653 sold. That's, yeah.
We're going to be doing this every week, you guys. Reach out to us with any questions. If you have any content you'd like us to talk about, by all means, please email the Manchester team. And thanks for joining us today.